Is 6 o'clock. We said we'd start at 6 and end at 7. So I appreciate you being on. For those of you who have not met me, and I, with this COVID era, we certainly have been limited by the amount of interactions, at least face-to-face and things like that we can have. But my name is Eric Peterson. I serve as your Director of Field Service for the Denver Area Council. And I've been working in scouting professionally for over 30 years. Most recently came from the national office, so please don't hold that against me. Before that, I was working in 4 different councils in the upper Midwest. And I'm very happy to be back in the mountains. I grew up in Montana, did my scouting as a kid there. I'm an Eagle Scout, have 2 sons who are Eagle Scouts as well. And so it's great to be with you tonight. I'll have Will and Dave introduce themselves when they start, but I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes, first of all, welcoming each of you. And if you could, hopefully, by now we all kind of know the Zoom etiquette, but if you could mute yourself. I do have the capacity to mute you if I need to, but that way everybody can hear. And we do want to make this interactive. That's why we're doing it via Zoom and not any other format this evening. And we'll evaluate that at the end of the meeting to see if this works. But so welcome. We appreciate what you do. This is primarily for district committee members and commissioners. I know we have a few unit level people on, which is just fine. Because as a staff, we met at the end of August to kind of reevaluate to see how things were going throughout the summer. We certainly had an abnormal summer with all the non-activities that we had or we didn't have. And so we talked about a lot of things that we wanted to do to try to restart scouting. And over the past few weeks, we've had a lot of Facebook Live events, things like that. Hopefully you've seen those. If not, please go to our Facebook page, the Denver Area Council Facebook page. You can get lots of information. But the bottom line from our staff planning conference was we needed to make sure that we communicated and we helped units get restarted. Typically, the end of August, the first part of September is when kids go back to school. We're in schools doing pub talks and things like that, and obviously we can't do that this year. And so the purpose of this meeting, and we called it a roundtable, not to confuse you, because I know each district has their own roundtable for unit leaders and things like that, but to communicate to you as district committee members and commissioners in the Denver Area Council. For those of you who are history buffs, if you follow any wars or battles, things like that, you'll know that one of the first things that your enemy wants to do is to knock out communication. And why? So that you can't communicate with the troops can't communicate with their leaders, and vice versa. And typically the side that does that the best is going to win, because the other side can't communicate. They can't talk to each other. They don't know what's going on. And so metaphorically, we're in a war against COVID, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. I know there's lots of people out there, doing the best they can. We certainly appreciate all those that are working on solutions and things like that. But one thing that we didn't want to do is to not have communication. And so the reason that we're having this roundtable with you, district leaders, is to communicate what we're doing. We don't want to assume that we know what we're doing, and we want to make sure that you're fully aware of things that are going on. Now, we've made some plans. We think we have some good plans, but we know that they can always be improved. And so we also want to continue to get feedback from all of you, so that we can continue to keep scouting going. We can continue to support all of the units and the kids, because that's the bottom line for me personally. Growing up in the program is providing a quality program for every youth that wants to join. So that's why we're here. We're going to do these meetings monthly between now and the end of the year. We haven't published the dates yet. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but we will have a published dates on our website so you can know when the next one is in October and then November and December. We do have a few things that we want to talk to you about tonight. And so to get us started, I'd like to introduce Will Amrine. And anyway, Will, you can probably introduce yourself better than I can. But you can introduce yourself and kind of tell us why we're here as well, and share some of your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Eric. And Eric, you talk about timing and just how crazy this is. We met right before COVID kind of broke out in the office, and it was a couple weeks after that everything happened. So anybody that's not had a chance to meet with Eric, he's been such a great addition to the team, and really has added a lot of structure that I think was, that's his strength, has added some structure. And I think having that through this whole process of COVID, it's been great for the council. So thanks, Eric, for that. If you guys, I know some faces here, there's some familiar ones and then there's some new ones, but I'm the vice chair for district operations, and I work with Andy Van Gilder, chair of that. And before that, I was the chair of the Timberline district. So I've sat in the role of the district chairman, and I myself am an Eagle Scout. I'm one of 4 brothers that earned the Eagle Scout Award. It's hard to believe it's been 23 years ago in Little Paris, Arkansas, town of 3,000 since I've done it. And I can tell you, there was no handbook for how to deal with COVID back then. And there's not now. And I think the thing that as we think about it is that what I've loved and what I've heard, and Eric and Dave and I and others have had several conversations about the creativeness that's been brought out in all of the leaders, and how you're finding ways to meet, how you're find ways for advancement. And I think I just want to commend everybody for that effort, because it's not easy, and operations are tough. And so, really a quote that's on the agenda tonight that Eric shared with me that I think is great is: the purpose of the district is to work through chartered organizations and community groups to organize and support successful units. The end result of effective district support is more youth members receiving a better program. And I think that is more important now than ever. And so, really my role tonight, and what I want to do, and what my role is going forward, is really helping work with Eric to solve any operational issues with the districts going forward through this program. So for example, we talked about one today earlier of just trying to find meeting locations and trying to figure out what chartered locations will allow us to meet and which ones won't. And so can we go to those organizations, those churches, whatever the place may be, and say, hey, can you host meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday nights too? Or can you host 2 meetings on one night, and get creative? Because we know we had to do some of this socially, but there's nothing that replaces the interaction of being in person. And so being able to find locations, being able to operate underneath the mandates that are county based, and everybody's dealing with different mandates around that for the number of people. That's what I'm here for. And so, as a past Eagle Scout, as somebody that's been on the board now since I've moved to Denver in 2011, I always tell, because I think it's different. I used to sit in the ivory tower and write checks and help raise money for the council, which is really, really important, and still provide that function. But when I got back in as the district chair, I really understood for the first time in my adult life. I never understood it when I was young, and all this stuff was happening behind the scenes, and I had no idea. But the amount of effort and passion that the volunteers have to pull this off at the district level, and how important it is. And so we're going to have roadblocks, and we're going to have things that pop up, and some are going to be more severe than others. And whether it be personnel, whether it be logistic, whatever the case may be here, for the foreseeable future, as we try to fight off COVID, I want to be there to help and be a resource, and kind of be your point person as a volunteer to help you guys work through any of those issues. So, Eric, that's really what I wanted to say in this part. And I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add. I know that we're going to open it up for some questions later on for any challenges that may be out there.
Thank you, Will. Will's here for all the tough questions. He'll take those, and then
If I don't know the answers, I'll find the answers. I got a notepad here ready to write stuff down and get answers. So
Good. Well, let me introduce Dave Carlson, who's our council commissioner. Many of you you know Dave. So Dave, if you want to introduce yourself, maybe some of the people that haven't had an opportunity to meet you, and kind of talk about some of the things that you and Chuck and Andy did with our first night of when we kicked off Restart Scouting Night.
Thanks, Eric. I'll be happy to. Yeah, again, Eric said I'm Dave Carlson, and my history in scouting is interesting. I was not a scout, but I am an Eagle dad, and Eagle. Not to make it long, but some of you heard the story. But my son joined scouting as a Cub, and I thought I got out of it, and next thing I know, I've been in it ever since. And like Will, I was a district chair in Gateway for 3 years. Prior to that, I'd been involved at the unit level. I was a Cub master and a den leader and a scout master and all of those kinds of things, and a dad. And I was more of the suit. Like Will, I was out trying to raise money, line up leaders, trying to find, resources for the council. I've been on the board for a number of years. And all of a sudden, I was talking to John and some of the other leaders, and I became council commissioner. And they laugh because I can't spell commissioner, but I've been memorizing it. And for Sherry and CJ and Mike and Jason and those of you who are commissioners, Lizette, I see you're on the call. I'm learning as quickly as I can, but I represent, for those of you who know the commissioner world and some who don't, my job is to represent you. My job is to represent the uniform, and that's why I'm always in a uniform. My job is to represent scouters and scouts. And as a trustee and a member of the key group at Denver Area Council, I'm not in a suit anymore. And I now find myself occasionally, having to voice an opinion that's different than just the business opinion. And everybody knows right now, especially business and money and finance is so critical. But that's because, my job is to represent you guys. So having said that, one of the things that we have really tried to do, and that was Chuck, our new chief scout, and Andy and I, and many others, because if any of you joined those restart nights, our Facebook Live meetings, we're trying to let everyone know, and we're asking that you, and so much of that information came from you all and your units. They didn't come from us. And what we're trying to do is get every one of you and all the units that you work with as commissioners, as district leaders, as district volunteers, to feed back to a central point, to Eric, to Will, to Andy, to Chuck, Rob, to Chuck, if you need to, those success stories that you're having in operating in the COVID environment. I mean, one of the things that happened that I think you saw on that first night when Chuck and Andy and I were on, Chuck went to a park with his kids. He didn't know there was a Boy Scout meeting going on, or a Scouts BSA meeting actually going on. And all of a sudden he saw all of these kids having fun and intermingling safely, following all the rules of social distancing, but outside. So we just want to get that word out. I think that if there's anything you're doing, and I'll pick on Sherry. Sherry's from Grand Junction, and they've come up with more creative ways. Drive-by award ceremonies, drive-through popcorn sales, you name it. Those folks in Grand Junction have been on the creative edge. CJ over in Frontier District, you've had all kinds of camping experience and hiking experience, and everything's been done within the COVID structure in the county in which you guys are operating, or counties. And that's for this part where we're all talking about restart scouting. We just need to get that word out, because there's so many, and particularly on the Cub Scout side, the Scouts BSA and the Explorers and the Ventures, we're doing a little better at that with those groups. But the dens, it's hard because, PAC meetings were so singular and so facility kind of centric that if you have any ideas, and when we have them, we certainly want to get those out. Eric, I know Eric's going to talk a little bit about the council website. And here I am, a guy who really never used Zoom until about 18 months ago. And I'm not somebody who always wants to go to a website. I want to go to Murdoch's and buy my gloves. I like to go to the Scout Shop and see Jeanette and buy my shirt. However, the website is a place where we can communicate in the COVID environment, get the word out, give people resources, and really help people that we haven't been able to do before. I think it's the best our website's been in a long time. And I think driving people there is so important. So Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about everything we've got on the website and just those things we are driving there right now?
Certainly, Dave, I can do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And what we're asking you to do is just like we teach in scouting. Once you learn something, please go out and teach it to others. We don't want to assume that just because we've been communicating through email or through Facebook Live events, things like that, that everybody knows what's happening. And so if you can help be our advocates and get the word out, and if you enjoy this meeting, tell other district committee people and commissioners about it, so they can join us next month and we can continue to keep scouting going. So let me share my screen here, and hopefully you'll be able to see it. We have lots of information on here. We know that things change sometimes daily or weekly. And so what we are attempting to do is all of the information that we have, we're going to put on our website. And I'm not going to share everything, but up here in the top ribbon, there's a resource. And the 3 sites that I want to share with you are the top 3. So one talks about Restart Scouting. I'm not going to go into to great detail. I can make sure that's working. So you'll see there's information about Restart Scouting. Some of the Facebook live events that we did the first part of September are here. So if you missed those, you can go and you can review that information. There's a Restart Scouting guidebook, and I will, once I get back, we can show you that. And that will give you step by step all the units that they need. If they can just take a look at that and follow that guidebook, it's everything that they need to restart. There's some recruitment resources, not only for Cub Scouts, but for Scouts BSA, for ventures as well. We have a virtual sign up. I know there's some PACs that have been out there that have done in-person, very successful in-person events, whether it be in parking lots, in parks, drive-through events. But there's also a virtual Cub Scout recruiting sign up with a PowerPoint and a script to help out. There's our national marketing hub, information there. And there's tons of things. We started last week holding virtual den meetings. This is not to replace the den meetings that PACs are currently having, but we know some PACs are struggling. We know some dens don't have den leaders. And so we as a council wanted to provide at least a monthly program. And so here's the information about those virtual den meetings and the roundtables that you're participating in. So that information here, there's other activities that are on here that are upcoming as well. So again, lots of resources. So that's just one of the pages that I want to share with you. The other one is the recruitment resources. And this goes into more details about how to update the PIN. And that's for, again, any unit that's out there. We have specific plans on Cub Scout recruitment. We did a kickoff video a few weeks ago. There's been very successful recruitments done by PACs using social media. Again, we're thinking outside the box. We can't go into schools and hand out flyers and do Cub Talks like we've traditionally done. And so we have lots of resources that are available. We have all these idea books, as you can see, for Cub Scouts, Scouts BSA, and venturing. There's information, recruiting information. We're using door hangers, we're using yard signs, and it's great to drive around and to see some of those yard signs. They're very generic. They're driving everybody towards the beascout.org website, so that if your neighboring PAC or troop put up a sign, then it doesn't matter, who drives by. If they see that information and goes to beascout.org, they just type in their zip code and they can find the nearest units around them. And then there's some other resources from our national organization. The final thing I want to share with you is the virtual customer service. It's interesting, as many of you know, we've had a reduction in force. I was talking to our deputy scout executive, and there's probably at least 20 professionals that used to work for the Denver Area Council a year ago. There's 20 less of us. And so we have to do more with less. And that's where we certainly appreciate you as volunteers helping and stepping in. But it's also caused us in this COVID environment to think outside the box. Our office was closed for a while because of COVID, but we still wanted to serve our customers. And so there's a whole site on, if you need to schedule an appointment, we can do that. If you need to make recharter payments, and we'll talk about rechartering in a second. If you need to use your unit account, if you need to upload applications. So just today, for example, I've been covering the Centennial District. There were 6 youth applications and 2 adults that were sent to us and that we processed. Nobody came into the office. It was all done via email and virtual. And so we just want to get the word out to let folks know, especially, I know some people think it's a long distance from the office from Parker, but they haven't met Wayne Nelson and Sherry Verdict out in Western Colorado. It's a little bit longer for them to drive into the office. And so we're trying to not only meet their needs, but also everybody else's needs around the area. And so there's lots of information, and you may know about this, and if you do, great. We appreciate that. What we ask you to do is share it with other people so they know about it as well. So with that, let me just stop sharing. I think there might be a couple of questions. And so Sherry, I think your hand's been raised. You're very patient. So please unmute yourself and give Will a difficult question to answer.
Will, I just wanted to ask, I attended a meeting on September 12th in Rifle with Eric and Dave and a couple of other folks. And one of the best things I heard out of that whole time I was there was that we will no longer have to wait on national to resolve rechartering things. Are you the contact person now for that? If we have a question on this side of the slope for how to recharter?
Eric, here, first question out of the gate. It's pretty tough on this. So Eric, I'm happy to be a touch point on the rechartering question, but I know we've had conversations in our pre-meeting this morning about rechartering, and I believe Dave was, I could be wrong, but we were going to address some of those at some point. Do we want to address that right now, or how do we want to move forward?
I think, Sherry, we're going to cover rechartering, but there will be a list of contacts, okay? And that's included in what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And so we'll have both commissioner level, well, of course, you're one of the contacts too, but we'll have commissioner level and we'll have staff level. And I think one of the things that we're very excited about, I'll just get ahead of myself a little on recharter. Tomorrow is our final walkthrough on the recharter and the renewal guide. And so one of the key people here is going to be Lynette, because she's our registrar and she's now a full-time registrar. So rather than having to mix and mingle between the service desk in Texas and what we were trying to pick up here, Lynette has been involved in this process, working with Jason and Mike and the staff, Eric's staff. So we're really excited that we're going to have one DAC point of contact that can, take care of what did the national office call them, defects or whatever the term was. So we're pretty excited about that, but we'll talk a little more about that in a minute, but hope that answers your question. And Will, by the way, Will's not on that list.
It was a new, I know there's things that was not one of the things I thought, but just in case I was going to be assigned, in scouting, we're voluntold a lot of things. Right. So I just wasn't sure if I'd been voluntold yet that was something I was going to help out with. So sure, it was a little ahead of the curve on the question.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks for getting Will's heart started by asking that question. So before we move on to rechartering, does anybody have any questions about the website, about any of the things that we as the council are trying to do to help keep scouting going, to help restart scouting, to help units. Any questions that you guys have?
All the information that I'm gleaning tonight will be shared tomorrow night at our district roundtable.
Wonderful.
So the information will be passed on. I'll even send out an email with notes, because I'm a copious note taker, so that it will encourage our leaders to look at the new website. So.
And Sherry, just so you know, from a district chairman standpoint, we're meeting with the district chairs on a monthly basis. And, you know, we've continued that meeting, and obviously we've gone over this with them as well. So, you know, they should understand these resources and making sure that they're getting out as well.
Great. Any additional questions before we go on to rechartering? And then just to let you know, we want to open it up for questions. We know that we didn't want to cover everything, but if there's things that you have that you want to talk to us about, we'll be happy to do that. We'll have an open forum before we close tonight. So,
Eric, you ready?
all right. Yeah, I don't see anybody unmuting themselves or raising their hands. So Dave, yeah, why don't you spend a few minutes talking about rechartering?
Okay, well, I think that one of the things that was more recent information to me, but you know, the questions have been circling around Eric's professional staff, those people you guys work with, the DEs, the DDs, and those questions have been, what's going on with recharter? And I was the deputy commissioner last year, and so I was learning all about the commissioner side of recharter, not the district side of recharter. However, I would like to, for those people who are asking you, breathe deeply. It's close. We're going to meet the deadlines. We're going to be ready to go when the codes are available. So that's one thing that we are very close. And like I say, tomorrow's meeting is really not about our renewal guide or process. It's more about making sure everything we're expecting to Lynette to do and staff to do after you guys deliver results. We're just kind of going through that final walkthrough. But, and one of the things on this call, there's several experts. So, you know, the folks who really put the renewal guide changes together include Jason and Mike Ober and many members of Eric's staff, notably Elise Thurston, really worked hard on this. And then Lynette, of course, being the registrar is critical. I think many of you weighed in on it. I know our commissioner cabinet, including CJ and Sherry and others, did weigh in, have certainly given us some ideas as we've met and reached out. But I wanted to start by saying, and I have a tendency to be overly dramatic. For anybody who was in Gateway, you can probably remember, Dave gets a little emotional and a little dramatic about his scouting life and our scouting life. But I think with all the challenges the scouting movement has faced this year, and most notably COVID. I mean, we have others, trust me, but COVID has been something none of us have experienced before. And it's certainly put a challenge in front of us as scouts and scouters. So recharter has never been more important. The ability to retain units, the ability to retain scouts, the ability to keep those units together, because recruiting is tough, and you guys know more than I do. Recruiting is very, very difficult. We're not in the schools. We're trying all kinds of new things. So retention becomes ultra critical this year. So the commissioner team and Eric's staff, as I mentioned, have prepared a revised renewal effort for 2021. We've worked hard, and Eric's going to put up let me go to speaker view. Oh, I am on speaker view. Okay. Thank you, Eric. Eric has put up some slides, and we're going to talk our way through this very briefly, but I don't want to get hung up on details tonight because there's going to be ample opportunity for us to work through it. But we've put together a new renewal guide, and it's really patterned after the last couple of 3 years that you've all seen and worked with. We've tried to make it thorough and simple, and in a minute we'll talk about, if you don't like simple, we've got other resources, a 44-page one, a 99-page one. We will provide to you everything that you all need to make this effort successful. And while our effort will still be district-centric this year, like it has been, we know that the council, and particularly because of COVID and what's going on, council has to come in and provide a finish for the district effort this year. So in December, when someone might not be finished, whereby anybody that's not finished, they will have the opportunity to attend, participate in one of 3 council-wide events. And those are on the 5th of December, the 12th of December, and the 19th of December. Those are Saturdays at Hamilton at Scout headquarters. Of course, Sherry and the West Slope, we're working with them differently because we don't expect their folks to drive over to Denver. But on these, we will have resources for the district. From the district, we'll have resources from the commissioner team. We'll have resources for Eric's staff. It won't be the same people every time, but each district will be represented at each of the meetings, and the staff will be represented. So when you walk in, if you need to, if your unit needs to, they can get the advice they need, get the help they need, the support they need, and we can get this thing tuned up and rolled out by the end of December. So you see on your screen, and is your renewal guide moving? I want to go through it real quickly. We've kind of given, well, I'm kind of an old marketing guy. So I asked Jason and Mike and the team, hey, can you guys make this groovier or cooler? That tells you how old I am to be using those terms. But can we make it something a little more, I don't know, fun, impactful? So they did a great job, and they came up with kind of a 3-prong plan for the renewal guide. And that's called prepare, which means prepare for success. Perform, get the job done. Perform, get recharter handled, and then complete it by returning. So our 3-word preparation this year is prepare, perform, and return, and get everything back. We've made the guide very comprehensive. I should say the team has made the guide. I think everything that you could possibly want to see on it is there, but I'll call your attention, Eric, if you can hold that first slide right there. On the upper right-hand corner of each page of the guide, which you guys will all be getting, it says Denver Area Council BSA, www.denverboyscouts.org, our website, /renewal. Anything and everything you need about renewal, we'll put on the website. Now, that includes a very nice piece from Mike Ober, which is, Mike, is it 44 slides? I can't remember.
His is 11 slides.
It's not that long.
The national is 44 slides.
That's right.
You can get down to whichever level of detail your units need in order to be successful. All of that's going to be on there. The names of our contacts, which are going to be all of our district commissioners, our commissioner team, and a professional in each district, or those professionals that we've got assigned in each district, will all be there to support you, to support your units. So that's our thing. If we can prepare, get ready, perform, and return, what we have is, in addition to that, and this is something you've seen in the past, each of the units will receive a letter, and that letter is on October 1st. And in that letter will be kind of a timeline of renewal, timeline of free charter, what's going on, what you should be following as a unit. Here's what you need to do in October as a unit. Here's what you need to do in November unit. And by December, we should be rocking and rolling and finishing this thing up. The other thing that will be on this letter that's all critical, and I'm learning as we go, is, of course, the district and the charter and the unit number and the access code. And I will say, from the past 2 years, and probably more years than that when I wasn't involved in commissioner service, one of the biggest hangups for units, people want to use the code from the year before. I won't get into a long explanation, but every year the unit renewal code, recharter code, is reset. So every year that code is new and unique. So in this letter, you will receive your access code. Our team will also have those access codes for units that are having some confusion at the unit key 3 or whatever they need when they have an assigned representative who really handles recharter renewal for them. We'll all have that resource. So we're shooting. This will go out on October 1st. I'm going to ask Jason one question. Jason, are the codes actually available October 1st, but you cannot use the code till October 2nd? Is that correct?
Right. The system, the charter renewal system for Denver Area Council technically goes live that Friday. We're getting the codes out Thursday so that we're able to talk about it a little bit more at district roundtables when they go out. But the system itself, due to the variances of it's the weekend, that's when it's the official access point for going in there. I don't think, well, let's put it this way. If any unit is ready to dive in on October 1st, we should probably give them a prize as well, just for being prepared. But yeah, at the very least, they can look at the system, and then it will be set up for the Denver Area Council and other councils to recharter at the end of the year as of October 2nd. So if someone gets the code Thursday afternoon and goes, wow, I'm really eager, and they go in, it's not going to necessarily be a problem, but there'll be a couple of back-end changes that are going into place on the 2nd. So the letter itself will say, starting October 2nd, you'll be able to, and off it goes.
Thank you, Jason. So tomorrow is not, we're 99% of the way there. Eric has been working on a couple of staff assignments that will be incorporated tomorrow into the final version of the guide. As I said, we have our final kind of walkthrough with our registrar. Basically, what I think one of the things that's changed and was certainly confusing to me as a unit leader at one time, and certainly has been a challenge for us over the last 2 years, maybe the last thing I want to really focus on. With the limited resources, both at the national level and with some of the limited resources we have at DAC, the realities we face, we've always been volunteer-led. And the staff has always stepped in and said, well, if the volunteers don't get it done, the staff will get it done. And I think in many ways they've had to, and sometimes there is a volunteer gap, so we have to all work together. But what we've committed to Chuck and to Eric and to our team is that we'll deliver the recharter renewal process. We'll get this thing really delivered before January 1st. And at that point, then it becomes a staff, kind of a staff issue. We'll still be involved with fixing, adding, and helping for those things that a unit didn't get, that a unit has struggled with. Maybe there's a missing application, those things we used to have to work on. We're going to still be involved, but what we won't be involved in is looking around the room, which we did at the end of last January, or I guess it was this January, and said, where are we? Who's on first? What's on second? So because you all are going to, your units are going to deliver this in a timely and pretty complete manner, then staff kicks in, or Lynette kicks in, registrar kicks in, and we start moving. And I'm so hopeful and thankful to Eric and Chuck and everybody for getting that back in Denver, or back to I should say to our council, because, you know, when you didn't know where you were in January, and then the national office, and it wasn't all them, said, we don't know where you are either, it became really problematic. And we ended up, you know, still putzing around into the spring with those fixes. So we're excited, we're hopeful, we're asking for your units and the commissioner team commitment to really make this thing work. No unit should be without help. If they need help, guidance, forms, codes, no one should be without help and should be without getting it done. And that's the goal of our service team. So with that, I will finish on recharter.
Thank you, Dave. Jennifer, you had a question for us?
I just was going to say, one of the challenging things this year is going to be that a lot of our chartered organizational representatives have moved on or are not available because the churches are closed. I know, for example, my guy has moved on, and I'm going to have to, and in the past when that's happened, when I was in a den, we had to fill out a special form to like renew the unit. And so I just want to make sure that we're ahead of the game on and helping those people figure out what to do when they have to get a new chartered organization representative, because that seemed like a complex thing when it happened before.
Sure.
We will have instructions put up on the charter renewal webpage, so denverboyscouts.org/renewal, because that's definitely, while it's kind of an outlier situation, at the same time, it does happen more often than one would hope and or think. So there is a set of instructions that we will have available off the website. But if worse comes to worse, if you want to reach out to myself or your district commissioner or Dave, or even through Eric, we can also make sure that that gets in your unit leader's hands so that they know, here's the form they have to fill out, here's the process they have to go through. It isn't difficult, but it's easier to take care of it earlier in the process than you're scrambling on December 27th going, oh my gosh, who are we going to deal this with? So we'll definitely have those instructions up on the website. And like I said, if you want to reach out later, I'll be happy to make sure it gets into your hands as well.
Thank you.
Jennifer, one of the forms that we've put up this year on that website is the annual charter agreement form, because it doesn't show up in the recharter system until the very end. So this way you'll be able to download it and get all that portion done ahead of time.
Okay, super.
And I can't overstate, I can't say enough about what Jason and Mike from the volunteer side and what, Eric's team put into this. You guys have challenges that we don't even know sometimes how challenging it is to deal with a unit that doesn't know where to meet. They don't know how to handle COVID, and they're trying, but it's tough. And so then you add to it the charter organization things. But I think if everybody can just really concentrate with your units, and when the commissioner team is working with the units, if everybody at the unit if you can help the units start in October, there's a whole list of things you can do in October. You don't have to have it all done in October. You don't have to be perfect in October, but it's those things. Start checking the roster. Jennifer, you raise a beautiful point. Start checking. Find that. I know in the past, units waited to get to your charter org rep till December, till holiday season. They weren't around. They were gone. They were on sabbatical, and pretty soon, here we are. So start early, work through the process early, and I think Mike and Jason and the team have put together something that should really be, I don't want to say easy. It will be streamlined and very positive to follow.
Thank you, Dave. We have a question from John.
I got to hit the mute button.
There, John, I'll see if I can unmute you. Hold on. No, I guess I can't. So.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
No questions from me, thank you.
Okay, there was the person who asked the question kept on mentioning a change in charter org rep. The charter org rep is just like any other unit leader. All you have to do is put them on your roster and obviously get a YPT training and if they're new, get a new application in. The only difference is that application has to be signed by the charter principal as opposed to everybody else. The only time you have to fill out a special form is if the charter organization changes or the charter principal within a fixed charter organization changes. Then you have to fill out a new form and attach that with all your documentation. And that's the new unit form. Just to inform DAC, Boy Scouts of America, that you have changed your charter org or your charter org principal has changed.
And the instructions we'll be putting up will differentiate between that. So yeah, the specific terminology, charter org rep, that's a position change. Institution head,
Right.
that type of, or full chartering organization change.
One of the things that always trips up a lot of my units for years and years and years is the signature requirements for say new leaders, etc. Even on the charter itself, charter paperwork itself, the recharter paperwork. If you change out your unit leaders, your key threes, those new ones are the ones that have to sign the new charter, not the old ones. Yes. And also the accompanying applications for unit leaders. A lot of units get confused with that and think that the old unit leaders are the ones responsible for signing all the documents. And that has always caused a big hang-up, at least the units that I've dealt with.
Well, John, thank you very much. Sounds like you're very well educated on the process. And so,
About 10 years doing it.
all right, well, wonderful. Thank you for your service. We appreciate that.
Thanks, John. We really do appreciate it.
There's just one thing that I want to mention before I want to open it up for any questions regarding anything that we've covered, or if you have any additional new topics that you want to talk about. But the meeting space for units, I know that's coming up. You know, certainly there's units out there. They're doing a great job meeting outdoors in parks and wherever they can. But yes, we live in Colorado. We don't live in Texas, and it's going to get cold here shortly. And so we have some units that have already reached out to their charter partners, presented to them a COVID plan of what they're going to do. And they've been successful in talking to their charter partner about, yes, we can come in because we're going to follow these guidelines. We're going to put that information up on our website so that you can see some plans. And that's something that we want you to work with us as a professional staff, as a volunteer commissioner staff. If you're having some issues or troubles, you know, part of the charter agreement, when an organization agrees to partner with the Denver Area Council, part of their responsibility as the charter organization is to provide a meeting space. That doesn't mean that they, you know, if they're a school or if they're, you know, a service club, they have to actually meet, you know, where that organization meets, but that's part of their responsibility. And so we'd like to work with them to accomplish that, so that even though it's going to get cold and snowy out here, that packs and troops and crews can continue to meet throughout the winter season. So look for that information. Just as we talked about, you know, start early with your rechartering process. While it's nice outside, please have those conversations with your charter partners so that we can continue scouting when it gets cold. With that, what we'd like to do now is open it up to any questions, like I said, of any of the topics that we've talked about so far, or if you have brand new topics that you'd like to discuss, let's open it up.
Hey, Eric, I would just want to tag on to your comments there and really hammer in 2 points. One, we talked about it. You guys are all busy doing the tasks that are in front of you. Please, please, please let us know, as Dave talked about it. If you see a troop having a hard time getting kids to meet, if you see them having a hard time finding a location to meet, any of those type of issues as you're going through the chartering process, please let us know ASAP. And let us start working with that and trying to help them out. You guys have plenty of other responsibilities to make that your #1 goal. So please let us know so that we can help those troops and units out and make sure that they are successful through the winter.
Thank you, Will.
Yep.
Does anybody have any additional thoughts, comments, suggestions, ideas? Not hearing any.
I'm sorry, Eric. I was going to interrupt
Oh,
you there.
go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I know sometimes on the Zoom call, it's a, you know, it's a little daunting, or it's a little different to try to, you know, throw out your ideas or questions. But if you guys have anything, if there's things we missed on the commissioner side, if there's things Will and Eric and I and any of the team can do, you know, please let us know. And I really implore you guys to, you know, when you're doing your roundtables and when you're having your district meetings and working with your units, let us know, let everybody you can know about the successes that you're having. There's so much good scouting going on out there right now. And we just, you know, we just don't, not everybody's sharing. And I'll admit, and I want to be really candid, I know that about 4 months ago when COVID first started, we were really asking units, and you got a lot of people on this call were delivering some fantastic ideas. And, you know, for whatever reasons, we had a roadblock, you know, at our website, we had a roadblock getting those things communicated. But, you know, I know from Chuck on down at the staff, and from, Mr. Honan all the way down through the volunteer board, we're all committed to making sure your stories get told and shared so that, you know, you guys we can really, really share our successes. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dave.
A quick
There are
success.
no-
Oops, quick success here. Troop 155 is meeting in 10 minutes. We're having a court of honor in Decoven Park. And yes, we're looking at the same Witcher issue you were talking about. But thank you so much for putting on the call.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, Eric, just something I'd like to share in talking with the unit committee chairs for the PACs is that they're really thinking that they're going to be able to gear up their dens just because of the size of their dens and the ability to find a meeting place for that. But they're really concerned with having PAC meetings and, you know, putting a lot of people in the same confined area. I think, well, I won't swear to this, but I've got a meeting with the school superintendent that I think I'm going to be able to get some of the high school gymnasiums for the PACs to meet in, and that way we could spread them out. But right now they're saying, hey, let's just get our dens up and get them active and working, and then we'll, you know, it may be a month before we have another, you know, a PAC meeting. So
Sure. One suggestion, Wayne, and I know there'll be others, that not only PACs are doing, but also troops, because of the size of their units. They're saying, hey, can the dens meet in person at the den leader's home or wherever? And so they can have, you know, yes, their dens meeting, but to do the PAC meeting, each den will meet in their den leader's home. And so they can at least be in person with theirs. And then they're going to have a Zoom meeting where they can Zoom in with the other dens, if it's a PAC, other patrols, if it's a troop. And so, you know, that's one way, depending on, you know, size restrictions and things like that, you can still have a PAC meeting or a Scouts BSA, you know, troop meeting or things like that. So that's just one idea. There'll be others. What we'd also like you to do is, as you hear these ideas, please share them with us so that we can put it up on the website. We can put it up on our Facebook page so that that information can go out. So.
And you know, Eric, the other thing is, depending on the frequency that they're having the meetings, right, the larger meetings, you can even look at maybe doing something from a school perspective and what's been done. And even, you know, like our church we go to, it's a set amount of people from a group that come in, and then you bring the technology in for the rest of the crew to Zoom. So you still get some of that interaction between, and each unit could decide how they want to do that. But I mean, listen, I'm going to strongly encourage, if we can get kids together, the experience is, as we all know that's been in this, it's about the kids being together. And so, you know, let's try to get kids together, and then, you know, against the maximum numbers, right? We don't want to break any rules, but then also look for technology ways to bring them in, the other kids that can't come, and try to give them the best experience they can, and then rotate it around.
Thank you, Will. So to kind of wrap up tonight, what I'd like to do is ask a couple of things from you, and it's not too difficult, but feedback to us is a gift. And so we would like as many gifts as possible. So if you can give us some feedback regarding this meeting, you know, you can just email me directly. That would be great. What did you like about the meeting? What didn't you like about the meeting? How can it be better? Were these topics that we chose, were they relevant? Were they pertinent? Were they helpful? And then also let us know, as we continue to have these meetings in the fourth quarter of the year, you know, what additional topics do you want discussed? Is there a different format that would work better other than this Zoom meeting? We're doing the best we can. We felt that this was the best way we could do it, and so that's what we did. So thank you very much for showing up tonight. We appreciate all that you do and all that you continue to do. But please give us that feedback so that we can know how to best serve you and ultimately serve the kids in the Denver Area Council. With that, yeah, I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Go ahead, Wayne.
real quick, right at the beginning of the meeting, you mentioned a den leader specific roundtable. Is that what's on the website there, by rank basically, or is it all den leaders?
Yeah, so those are the council den meetings that we're having.
Okay.
So those are by rank, and then there's also going to be a den leader specific roundtable. This does not replace the district roundtables, things like that, but this is one specifically just for den leaders, because we know that, as Dave mentioned, typically the Scouts BSA units, the venturing crews, are doing a little bit better because they have, leaders that have been around for a little bit longer. But some of these den leaders are brand new. They may not have as many resources as a more experienced leader. And so we just want to make sure we set them up for success by giving them and showing them all the tools. And there's wonderful tools out there, especially on Scout Book.
Okay, what was the date of that?
I'd have to look, Wayne, on the website. And
Okay, I can do it. I just thought it was different than, I
Sure.
didn't see it on there. Okay.
Thank you. Any additional questions that anybody has?
Thank you all for all what you do and all the work you're putting in and all the extra effort you have to make because of all of the things that are going on in our world. But we really, really appreciate everything you're doing, and reach out if you need something.
All right. Well, Will, thank you very much for being on. Dave, appreciate that as well. I'm happy to stay on if somebody does have questions. And so kind of as the host, I'll be on until the last person hangs up. So thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Happy trails.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.